My daughter signed away her baby, so we raised him as our own. 25 years later, she showed up to extort us for money. When my daughter Mildred was 18, she handed me a gift, a pregnancy stick with 2 pink lines. I sighed. She'd always leaned careless, the type who never thought things through. Before I could even get a word out, she started hollering, "And I'm not getting a baby termination, so y'all better step up." By y'all, she meant me and her father. By step up, she meant dedicating our lives to raising her baby for her. Me and my husband loved babies, had always wanted more kids, so we agreed pretty fast. Soon, Mildred was practically shoving forms in our faces, insisting on signing away her parental rights, didn't want any responsibility on her in case we ran into money problems, as if she had any money of her own to give. Anyway, Philip turned out to be an amazing son. Curious, kind, never asked for anything without a please, always offering to help my husband with his work. Unfortunately, Larry's an accountant and could never actually take him up on it, but the gesture was unbelievably wholesome. When he turned 10, he started asking about his birth mom, our daughter. Clearly wanted a relationship with her. Every Mother's Day, he'd write 2 cards, kept a stack of envelopes labeled to mommy in a box under his bed, tried contacting her, asking for a meeting more than 12 times once he turned 11. Larry and I kept trying to distract him from it, kept reassuring him we loved him as our own. It wasn't until the 13th rejection that he finally stopped and started living his own life. I did everything I could to make him feel welcome in our home. Larry and I both burned through our savings so he could get through college without a part-time job. Made sure he took at least 1 trip a year, one of us always tagging along. By the time he was 22, he seemed to have forgotten about his mother entirely. She still talked to us but never once asked about him. Never tried building a mother-son bond. I was grateful for that. Honestly, by that point, I loved Philip more than I'd ever loved Mildred, and she kept us just as thoroughly cut out of her own life. Blocked us on every platform, WhatsApp included. All I knew was she'd married someone new across the country. Good riddance. My son dropped out of college once he and his friends started a car cleaning business. His marketing skills were sharp enough that it took off, and he always handed Larry and me 15% of his earnings, thanking us for raising him. The one thing about him that drove me nuts, he was dead set on paying us back so we could experience whatever we'd supposedly missed. Ticked me off, because we never wanted him thinking that way. We enjoyed raising him more than we would have enjoyed anything else in this life. A year later, he met the love of his life, Amber, total sweetheart. Little did I know his life was about to stop being all sunshine. We were all sitting around the table for Thanksgiving when his phone rang. I figured it was a new client, was practically beaming with pride, and he even put it on speaker. The second he picked up, my heart sank. Mildred. She asked how he was. He kept his answers short and firm. That's the moment I understood he'd truly stopped loving her. She asked to meet at a restaurant. He said he'd think about it, hung up. "Honey, your father and I can come along?" I offered, since his eyebrows were furrowed like he was actually weighing it. That would be amazing, lighting up the whole room with that cheerfulness. I already knew she was up to no good, hadn't tried building a relationship in 25 years. And I was right. At the fanciest restaurant in town, she didn't even hug my son or ask how he was doing. "So what's the meal budget for tonight?" First thing out of her mouth. My son just shrugged. Whatever. She ordered the lobster ravioli and a bottle of white wine. Spotting his lock screen, she pounced. "Oh wow, is that your girlfriend? She's beautiful." Voice so fake the table went quiet a few seconds. "Reminds me of me and my recently divorced husband. We used to be so cute." I asked what happened. She'd cheated on him. My son rolled his eyes. "Stuff just happens sometimes. Anyway, I'm really struggling to find a job right now. Do you think you could help me out?" I guess. What came next shook me to my core. "I'm going to need around $14,000 to secure an apartment. I'll send you my bank details, so make sure to send the money before the weekend." I expected my son to lose it. Instead, he just nodded, waited for the food. I opened my mouth to give her a piece of my mind, felt a pinch under the table Philip, and stayed quiet. Little did I know, my sweet boy had an ace up his sleeve, and my daughter was finally about to get exactly what she deserved. Back home that night, I was still fuming, pacing the kitchen while Larry made tea, trying to settle me down. Philip sat at the counter, scrolling his phone like nothing had happened. "I just don't understand how you're so calm about this," I told him. "That woman abandoned you, ignored you for years, and now she just waltzes back in demanding money." He looked up with that same mysterious smile. "Mom, trust me. I've got this handled." "What does that even mean?" I asked, exasperated. He turned his phone toward me. Banking app open, transfer in progress to an account I didn't recognize. Amount, exactly $14. $14? Yep. She asked for money, never specified an amount. So money. $14 should cover a nice lunch, right? Larry burst out laughing. I couldn't help joining him. Whatever tension had been sitting in my shoulders finally let go. My boy wasn't a pushover after all. "You're something else, kid," Larry said, patting his back. Next morning, I was making breakfast when Philip's phone started blowing up with notifications on the charging counter, him still asleep. Wasn't trying to snoop, but the messages kept popping up. "Where's the rest of it?" One read. "This isn't funny," came another. "I need that money by tomorrow." I woke him up, showed him. He just chuckled, typed something quick, went to shower. I peeked at what he'd written. "Sorry, budget's tight this month. Hope the $14 helps." Calls started around noon. Philip let every single one go to voicemail. By evening, 17 missed calls from Mildred. He played the voicemails on speaker, so Larry and I could hear each one angrier and more unhinged than the last. "You think this is some kind of joke?" she screamed in the final one. "I'll show you what happens when you mess with me." I got worried, suggested maybe we should call the police, that it sounded like a threat. Philip shook his head. "She's all talk, always has been." I nodded but wasn't convinced. I knew Mildred better than he did, knew exactly how vindictive she could get when she didn't get her way. 3 days of silence from her. I started to relax, figured maybe she'd given up. Philip went back to the car cleaning business, life felt normal again. Then it happened. Frantic call from him at lunchtime. "Mom, she's here, at the business, making a scene." Larry and I grabbed the keys and raced over. We could hear the shouting from the parking lot. Mildred stood in the middle of the reception area, screaming while customers watched in horror. "You owe me. I gave birth to you. The least you could do is help your mother out." Philip stood there, completely calm, hands slightly raised. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're disrupting my business." Ma'am? I'm your mother, you ungrateful little. I stepped forward, ready to jump in. Larry held me back. Let him handle it, he whispered. And handle it he did. Philip walked over, still perfectly composed, voice low and firm. You need to leave now or I'll call the police. Go ahead, call them. I'll tell them how you promised me money and went back on your word. I saw his assistant Ralph quietly picking up the phone. Good kid. Philip gently took her elbow, steered her toward the door. I never promised you $14,000. I said I'd help, and I sent what I could afford. Now please leave before you embarrass yourself further. What happened next floored me. Mildred yanked her phone from her purse, shoved it in his face. See this? I've been recording this whole thing, and I've got the text where you agreed to help me. I'm posting this online. Show everyone what kind of son abandons his mother in her time of need. I later learned she'd only started recording halfway through, well after she'd already been screaming and making a scene, but the damage was already done. She stormed out, nearly toppling a display of car air fresheners on the way. Philip spent the next hour apologizing to customers, handing out discounts. 3 people canceled on the spot. I could see him trying to hide the worry on his face. That night, sitting around the kitchen table trying to figure out next steps, his phone dinged a link from Amber. Mildred had posted the video to Facebook, edited to make him look like he'd coldly turned away a desperate mother. A long caption about her successful son refusing to help her avoid homelessness. The comments were brutal people calling him heartless, swearing off his business, some threatening bad reviews. This is slander, Larry said, red-faced. We could sue her for this. Philip shook his head. That'd just drag it out longer. I've got a better idea. Next day, he posted his own video, sat in his office, looked straight into the camera, calmly laid out the whole situation, how Mildred had given him up at birth, rejected every attempt he'd made to connect as a kid, then suddenly resurfaced, demanding $14,000 after 25 years of silence. Showed screenshots of the texts, including her instant jump to asking for money without a single question about his life. I don't hold any grudges, he closed. I wish her well, but I won't be manipulated or bullied, and I won't let false accusations damage the business I've built through hard work and honest service. The response was overwhelming. Support poured in. Customers posted about their good experiences with the business. Public opinion flipped fast, but Mildred wasn't finished. A week later, Philip got a call from the local police. Someone had filed a theft report against him. According to it, he'd verbally agreed to loan Mildred money and then reneged, which the complainant tried framing as theft by deception. The officer who called sounded skeptical about the whole thing but said any formal complaint had to be looked into. Philip went down to give a statement. I went along for support, and I've never been prouder of how he carried himself, calmly walked through the situation, showed the texts, even pulled up the $14 transfer. The officer actually laughed. So you did send her money, just not as much as she wanted? Yes, sir. Never specified an amount in the texts. She asked for help. I helped as much as I felt comfortable with. The investigation closed fast after that. The officer told us, off the record, disputes like this weren't really police matters to begin with, civil issues at best. I thought that was the end of it. Wrong. Realizing she couldn't get to him directly, Mildred changed tactics. Showed up at our house one afternoon while Philip was out, just me and Larry. I barely recognized her on our porch, hair unwashed, clothes rumpled, eyes red from crying or drinking, maybe both. Can I come in? Small, pitiful voice. Please, Mom, I just want to talk. Against my better judgment, I let her in. Larry was working in his study. I called him down, his face hardened seeing her at our kitchen table. What do you want now? She burst into tears, big shaking sobs. I've made such a mess of everything. I just needed help, and I didn't know how to ask properly. I handed her a tissue, keeping emotional distance. I'd seen this act before. Why did you file a police report against Philip? She wiped her eyes. I was desperate. I really am about to be homeless. My ex-husband is cutting me off completely, and I have nowhere to go. So the solution was trying to get your own son arrested? Larry's voice went ice cold. I wasn't trying to get him arrested. I just wanted someone to make him help me. She turned to Larry, eyes suddenly calculating. Dad, you understand, don't you? You always understood me better than Mom did. I saw something flicker in his eyes, doubt, sympathy, whatever it was, it worried me. He has the money, she pushed. His business is doing so well. What's $14,000 to him? It's nothing, but it would save my life. Mildred, I said firmly. Philip doesn't owe you anything. You signed away your parental rights. You rejected him when he reached out. You don't get to show up 25 years later demanding money. But he's my son, she cried. No, I said, standing. He's our son. We raised him. We loved him. We were there for every skinned knee, every school play, every heartbreak. Where were you? She turned back to Larry. Dad, please, talk to him for me. He'll listen to you. To my horror, Larry hesitated. Maybe we could help a little. Not the full amount. Something to get you back on your feet. I couldn't believe it. Larry, no. She's manipulating you. She's still our daughter, Margaret, he said, using my full name the way he always did when we hit a real disagreement. And what about Philip? What message does that send him? Mildred saw her opening, pounced. Philip doesn't need to know. This could just be between us. Family helping family. I was about to push back further when the front door opened. Philip, home early. Stopped dead seeing Mildred at the table, face going completely blank, that same flat expression from the restaurant. What's going on here? Quietly. Your mother came to apologize, Larry said fast. Mildred nodded eagerly. Yes, I feel terrible about everything. I was hoping we could start fresh. Philip looked at me. I couldn't hide the skepticism, and he caught it instantly. Is that really why you're here? He asked her. She nodded, eyes wide and innocent. Of course. What other reason would I have? To try getting money from my parents since you couldn't get it from me. Her face flipped so fast it was almost funny. Tears gone in an instant, replaced with a cold glare. Well, what did you expect? You're living the high life while I'm suffering. Someone in this family needs to step up. Philip just shook his head. I think you should leave now. Not until I get what I came for, she snapped. And what exactly did you come for, Mildred? Dangerously calm. She looked at Larry. Dad was just about to help me out, weren't you, Dad? Larry looked uncomfortable. I said we might be able to help a little. Philip's face fell. I could see the hurt, the betrayal in his eyes. Broke my heart. Dad, she's using you, he said quietly. Just like she's trying to use me. Larry looked torn. I put a hand on his arm. Listen to him, Larry, he's right. Mildred stood, chair scraping loudly. Fine, be that way, all of you. I'll figure it out myself, like I always have to. Stormed out, slammed the door behind her. The silence after was deafening. Philip wouldn't look at Larry, who stared at the floor, ashamed. I'm sorry, son, he finally said. I don't know what came over me. She's always been able to wrap you around her finger, Philip said flatly, even after everything she's done. Turned and walked out of the kitchen. Heard his car start minutes later. Didn't come home that night. The next few days were tense. Philip kept his distance, focused on damage control for the business. Mildred's video had done real harm, even with his response helping. A handful of clearly fake but damaging negative reviews had cropped up online. Larry kept beating himself up over almost falling for her manipulation. I tried reassuring him, but honestly, I was disappointed too. After all these years, he should have known better. Philip finally came for dinner about a week later, distracted, constantly checking his phone. Everything okay? I asked while clearing dishes. Yeah, just waiting on a call. Vague. The call came right as we hit dessert. He stepped into the living room to take it, came back wearing that calculating smile again. That was Amber. Everything's set for tomorrow night. What's tomorrow night? Larry asked. I've invited Mildred to dinner, a peace offering. I nearly dropped my fork. You what? After everything she's done? He nodded. I think it's time we settle this once and for all. I'd like you two there as well. Philip, I don't think that's a good idea. Please, Mom, trust me on this. I know what I'm doing. Something in his eyes made me believe him. So against my better judgment, I agreed. Larry too, though he looked as uneasy as I felt. Mildred showed up the next night in a designer dress and expensive jewelry, so much for broke, I thought. Philip greeted her with a hug, which surprised me. Surprised her too, though she recovered fast, slipping into the role of delighted reunited mother. I'm so glad you called. Gushing. I've been feeling terrible about how things went. Water under the bridge, Philip said smoothly. Let's just enjoy dinner. The meal started pleasant enough. Philip asked about her life, seeming genuinely curious. She soaked it up, talked nonstop about herself. I noticed him refilling her wine glass steadily. By the main course, she was on her fourth pour and getting loose-lipped. So, Mildred, he said casually, tell me more about this apartment you need money for. She launched into a whole description of a luxury condo with ocean views. It's absolutely perfect, she sighed, but the deposit is killer. And you don't have any savings from the marriage or previous jobs? She waved that off. Oh, I've never been good with money. And Richard, my ex, he's being such a jerk about the settlement. That must be tough, sympathetically. So what's the plan if family can't come through? Another big sip of wine. Oh, I'll figure something out. I always do. Leaning in, conspiratorial. Between you and me, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. Like what? He prompted. She giggled. Well, the police report was just the opener. If that hadn't worked, I was thinking of calling some of your big clients, telling them sob stories about how you mistreat your poor mother. I gasped. Larry's fork went white-knuckled in his grip. Philip just nodded, calm. That's an interesting strategy. So the whole homeless thing was just a lie to get money out of me? She shrugged. Not entirely. I do need a place to stay. Maybe not as desperately as I made it sound. Laughing. You should have seen your dad's face when I cried at your house. He was ready to write a check on the spot. So you admit you were manipulating us. Still casual. Oh, come on, it's not manipulation, just knowing which buttons to push. She winked. You're my son. You should want to help me. Even though you abandoned me and rejected me when I tried reaching out as a kid? Her face hardened slightly. That was different. I wasn't ready to be a mother then. And you're ready now when you need money? She rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic. This is how family works. You help each other. By lying and filing false police reports? She leaned back. Look, I did what I had to do. I'd do it again if I needed to. That's just who I am. Philip smiled, reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times. Thanks for clarifying that, Mildred. Just wanted to make sure I knew exactly where we stand. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? He turned the screen so she could see. A recording app, running the entire time. Color drained straight out of her face. You recorded me? Yep. Every word, including your admission that you lied about needing money to avoid homelessness, that you filed a false police report, and that you were already planning to feed my clients more lies if this didn't work. You can't do that. That's illegal. Sputtering. Actually, in this state, only one party needs to consent to a recording. That's me. He pocketed it. I think we're done here. Mildred looked around wildly, searching for an exit. You wouldn't really use that against me. I'm your mother. No, Philip said firmly. Margaret is my mother. Larry is my father. You're just someone who gave birth to me and decided I wasn't worth your time until you needed something. He stood, dropped several $100 bills on the table. Dinner's on me. Finish your meal if you want. We're leaving. As we walked out, I heard her call after us, desperation cracking her voice. Philip, wait, I'm sorry. We can work this out. He never looked back. None of us did. In the parking lot, I hugged my son tight. I'm so proud of you, I whispered. Thanks, Mom, he said. But it's not over yet. What do you mean? Larry asked. Philip checked his watch. By now, Amber's uploaded the full audio to my social media, along with a statement explaining everything. The truth's finally out there for anyone to hear. I checked my phone. There it was, a post on his business account, recording attached. A plain, straightforward explanation of the past few weeks. You planned all this? I asked, amazed. He nodded. I knew she wouldn't be able to resist bragging about her scheme once she thought she was winning. People like Mildred always want credit for how clever they think they are. We drove home in silence, each of us somewhere else in our heads. I kept turning over how Philip had handled all of it: dignity, intelligence, a level head, outmaneuvering her at every turn without ever sinking to her level. The fallout hit fast and hard. By morning, Mildred's accounts were flooded with negative comments, people who'd initially sympathized now calling out the manipulation and lies. The few friends who'd stuck by her scattered. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then the final confrontation. 3 days after the dinner, Mildred showed up at Philip's business again. This time no shouting, just defeated, broken. I was there helping with paperwork when she walked in. Philip saw her, sighed. What now, Mildred? Wearily. You've ruined me. Barely above a whisper. My friends won't talk to me. I can't get a job with that recording everywhere. I really am going to be homeless now. He looked at her a long moment. That's not my problem, he finally said. She stepped toward him, face twisting. How can you be so cold? I gave you life, and then threw me away, he replied calmly. You made your choices, Mildred. Now you're living with the consequences. She lunged suddenly, hand raised like she'd slap him. I jumped up to intervene, but Philip caught her wrist midair. Don't, quiet, just don't. The fight seemed to drain out of her all at once. She sagged, tears streaming. What am I supposed to do now? Whispered. For a moment I saw a flicker of compassion cross his face despite everything. Part of him still cared about the woman who'd given birth to him. Get help, he said gently. Real help. For whatever's making you treat people this way. And then, maybe someday, we can try some kind of relationship, but not like this. Never like this. He released her wrist, stepped back. I'm not giving you money. I'm not letting you manipulate me or my parents anymore. This ends now. She stared at him a long moment, turned, walked out without another word. As the door shut, Philip let out a long breath. I went over, put my arm around his shoulders. Are you okay? He nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I finally am. Didn't see Mildred for almost 2 weeks after that. Kept expecting her to pop up with some new scheme, but nothing. Just quiet. Started thinking maybe she'd actually gotten the message. Then one morning, checking my email, something made my stomach drop. From Mildred. Addressed to me, Larry, and Philip. Subject line, goodbye. Opened it with shaking hands. Short a few lines about not being able to handle the public humiliation anymore, that she was going to end it. Classic Mildred, always with the drama. But what if this time she meant it? Called Philip immediately. Did you see the email? Yeah, saw it. He sighed. Don't worry, Mom. She's not going to hurt herself. How can you be so sure? I was already grabbing my keys, ready to drive to her last known address, because I just got a notification she posted on Instagram 10 minutes ago. Selfie at a coffee shop. Caption, new beginnings. I sank back into my chair, relief flooding through me. So it's just another manipulation. Exactly. She's hoping we'll panic, reach out, maybe offer money to help her through her darkest moment. He'd figured her out completely. What should we do? Nothing, he said firmly. Absolutely nothing. And that's exactly what we did. Nobody responded. Philip blocked her everywhere, changed his number. Larry and I did the same. Felt harsh, but necessary, like cutting out something diseased before it could spread further. Life started leveling out. Philip's business bounced back from the reputation hit. The whole drama had even brought him new customers who admired how he'd handled it. People love a redemption story, I guess. About a month after the goodbye email, I was at the grocery store when my cart bumped into someone else's. Looked up to apologize and found myself face to face with Richard, Mildred's ex-husband. Margaret, surprised. Is that you? Hadn't seen him in years, not since before the divorce. Older, but good, healthy, happy. Richard, hi. Not sure what else to say. What's the etiquette for running into your estranged daughter's ex-husband exactly? He saved me the trouble. I heard what happened with Mildred and Philip. I'm really sorry. I shrugged. Not your fault. No, but, he hesitated. I feel like I should have warned you. When she started talking about reconnecting with Philip, I knew she was up to something. She'd just maxed all her credit cards, needed a new source of cash. So she really was broke? He nodded. Oh yeah, but not because I cut her off, like she claims the settlement was more than fair. She just burns through money. We ended up getting coffee once we'd finished shopping. Richard filled in a lot of blanks, the multiple affairs, how she'd drained their joint savings before announcing the divorce, how she'd tried turning their mutual friends against him with fabricated abuse claims. It's like she can't help herself, he said, stirring his coffee absently. She sees people as resources, not human beings. I thought about all the years I'd made excuses for her, the missing money from my purse I'd convinced myself I'd just misplaced, the lies about where she was going that I'd chosen to believe because the truth hurt too much, the way I'd let her manipulate Larry over and over. I enabled her, I admitted. For years. Richard reached across, patted my hand. We all did, in our own ways, but Philip didn't. That kid of yours has a real backbone. I smiled, pride swelling. Yes, he does. Got home, told Larry about running into Richard. Apparently Mildred had moved to Arizona, started over with a fresh crowd who didn't know her history. Larry just nodded, looking worn out. The whole ordeal had aged him, hit him harder in some ways, especially after nearly falling for her act that day at the house. Good, he said. Maybe she'll stay there. But of course that wasn't the end. Nothing ever is. With Mildred. 3 months later, Philip and Amber got engaged. Small party at their house to celebrate family, close friends, about 20 people. I was in the kitchen with Amber, setting up food when the doorbell rang, heard Philip answer, then silence. Too much silence. Peeked around the corner, heart sinking. Mildred, standing in the doorway holding a gift bag, smiling like she'd actually been invited. Surprise, pushing to get past him. I heard my baby boy is getting married. Philip blocked the doorway. How did you find out about this? How do you even know where I live? She waved it off. Oh, I have my ways. Aren't you going to invite me in? I brought champagne. I stepped forward, ready to back him up, but he gave me a look. He had this. Mildred, calm. You weren't invited. Her smile flickered. But I'm your mother. Of course I should be here. No, you're not invited, he repeated, and you're not welcome. Her face darkened. Is this over that little misunderstanding? I thought we were past that. It wasn't a misunderstanding. You tried to extort money from me, filed a false police report, threatened to destroy my business. Then you sent a fake suicide threat when none of that worked. She had the nerve to look offended. I was in a bad place. You could show a little compassion. By now other guests had noticed, watching curiously from inside. Amber came up behind Philip, concerned. What's going on? Nothing, he said, not taking his eyes off Mildred. She was just leaving. Her gaze shifted to Amber. Something ugly flashed behind her eyes. So you're the one taking my son away from me? Amber blinked. Excuse me? He was going to help me until you turned him against me, Mildred hissed. You think you're so perfect, with your pretty face and your— That's enough, Philip cut in, voice hard. Leave now or I'm calling the police. She glanced around, seeming to register for the first time that she had an audience expressions ranging from confused to disgusted. She knew she was losing. Fine. Snapping, shoving the bag at him. I just wanted to give you this. Show there are no hard feelings. He took it cautiously, peeked inside, closed it fast. Went pale. Get out. Voice shaking slightly. And don't ever contact me or my family again. She smirked, thinking she'd scored something. Enjoy your party, sweetly, turning back to her car. Once she'd driven off, I rushed over. What was in the bag? He handed it over wordlessly. I looked and felt sick, a baby onesie reading grandma's favorite, with a note. When you have kids, I'll be part of their lives whether you like it or not. The party mood never quite recovered. Philip tried putting on a brave face, but he was clearly rattled. The thought of her worming into his future children's lives clearly unsettled him. Later, most guests gone, Philip, Amber, Larry, and I sat in the living room trying to figure out what to do. We could get a restraining order, Larry suggested. On what grounds? Philip asked. She hasn't technically threatened us. That onesie felt pretty threatening to me. Amber said quietly. She'd been unusually silent all evening. I squeezed her hand. We won't let her anywhere near your future kids, honey. I promise. Philip ran his hands through his hair, frustrated. I thought I'd handled this. Thought she'd finally gotten the message. People like Mildred don't change, I said sadly. They just find new angles. We didn't land on anything concrete that night, but agreed to stay alert. Philip installed security cameras at their house the next day, just in case. Weeks passed without a sign of her. Wedding plans moved along. Amber found a beautiful dress. They booked a venue for the following spring. Life went on. Then one evening my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? Is this Margaret? A woman's voice. Yes. Who's this? My name's Janice. I'm well. I'm Richard's new partner, Mildred's ex-husband. My guard shot up. How did you get my number? From Richard. He thought you should know. Mildred's been arrested. I sat down hard. Arrested? For what? Credit card fraud. Stole Richard's card information, ran up thousands in charges. But that's not why I'm calling. A pause. She had a notebook. Police found it when they searched her apartment. Full of plans, ways to get money from Philip, details about his business, his home address, even Amber's work schedule. It was disturbing. Blood ran cold. Have the police been told about her history with Philip? Richard's talking to them now. They're taking it seriously. With the fraud charges plus evidence of stalking, they're pushing for jail time. I thanked her, called Philip immediately. He and Amber came right over. We filled them in on everything Janice had said. So she's been watching us? Amber asked, small voice. All this time? Philip put his arm around her. It's going to be okay. She can't hurt us now. We later learned Mildred had been planning to approach Amber alone, pressure her into convincing Philip to help his poor mother. Notes about leveraging future grandchildren. Calculated. Cold sent a chill straight down my spine. Mildred got 18 months on the fraud charges. The stalking evidence helped push the sentence higher, even though they couldn't charge that separately without more direct proof of intent to harm. The day she was sentenced, Philip, Larry, and I sat in the courtroom watching. She never once looked our way, never acknowledged us at all like we were strangers. As they led her out, I felt this strange mixture: sadness for the daughter I'd lost long ago, relief that she couldn't hurt us for a while, and this deep, real gratitude for the son who'd stood his ground and protected his family. The wedding went ahead the following spring. Beautiful. Amber radiant, Philip unable to stop smiling. Small garden ceremony, just their closest people. During the reception, Philip pulled me aside. I have something for you, handing me a small box. Inside a delicate silver bracelet, a single heart charm. What's this for? Blinking back tears. For being my real mom. Simply. For loving me when she couldn't, or wouldn't. I hugged him tight. Couldn't get another word out past the lump in my throat. Later, slow dancing with Larry, I spotted Philip and Amber across the room, laughing about something, heads close together, wrapped up in each other and their future. We did good with him, Larry murmured. I nodded, head on his shoulder. Yes, we did. Mildred was released after 14 months. Never tried contacting us again. Richard heard from a mutual friend she'd moved to Florida. Started over again. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about what she actually lost. Not the money she tried to extort, but the relationship with her son. The chance to know the man he became. The chance to be part of his life, his wedding, his future family. Mostly though, I'm just grateful. Grateful Philip found the strength to stand up to her manipulation. Grateful he chose to break the cycle instead of feeding it. Grateful that, despite everything, he still has the capacity to love and trust. 2 years after the wedding, Amber gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Philip called from the hospital, voice thick with emotion. They're perfect, Mom, he said. Absolutely perfect. When we arrived, he placed his daughter in my arms. Meet your granddaughter, Margaret, softly. I looked down at her tiny face, so peaceful asleep, and felt my heart expand. This is what family is supposed to be. Not manipulation, not obligation, not guilt. Just love, freely given and gratefully received. As for Mildred, well, she made her choices, and we made ours.